You know you have to make yourself useful, right? You are a woman and there's just one way to go about it. As surprising as it may seem, these words came from my mother. At the time, I didn't really know what she meant by that. My mom is the person who made me suffer the most. I am Berenice and I won't give my family name. I have completely erased it from my mind. Living in a single-parent home, it is not funny. You feel incomplete and you always have questions in your mind. As long as I can remember, I always have lived with my mother. She made me to understand that my father never knew how to appreciate her for who she was, which was the cause of their separation. After insisting to meet him, she made me meet him a few times. Apparently, he was a very busy businessman and traveled a lot, so I couldn't spend so much time with him. Thus, I grew up with the feeling of being a nuisance, the fruit of a bitter love. My mother loved me, or I think, because the way she showed it to me was rather peculiar. She was usually indifferent towards me emotionally, so I contented myself with the few words that she said to me. When she finally came closer with the desire of having a relationship, I was rather happy. At least I felt love. I enjoyed every single moment. Then one day she made me understand that I had to make myself useful. I must confess I didn't understand much about it, and that moment I told myself that I would strive to be a more helpful young girl. Mom, what should I do? Just tell me and I will do it. She looked at me, smiled, and then said, Darling, it's simple. You'll just have to do whatever I tell you. Just wait for my instructions. I tried to understand, but nothing. She asked me to follow her to the office. Once there, she announced that henceforth I would be working with her, and if I'm diligent, I would surely replace her when she retires. I felt flattered and very happy to know that my mother had so much esteem for me. In a few days, I learned how a company worked, especially the most basic things. She told me I didn't need to know more about what I was going to do. I was in charge of external affairs, so I was called to meet my clients or potential partners for discussions. My mother made sure she always accompanied me. Once there, we had time to talk over a few drinks. I always felt a bit empty after each meeting. I usually woke up in the back of the car and my mother was driving. I had never had time to ask a question. She would always say, well, this meeting was fruitful, but it seems you can't stand the kind of wine. In less than no time, you were already asleep. However, the man really liked you. Sweetheart, you'll do better next time. I am so proud of you. After saying that, I didn't want to look like a complete idiot, so I just said, thank you, Mom. The business was rather flourishing. My mom congratulated me. Even though I was still lost, it was no big deal. The most important thing for me was to make her happy. I spent most of the time with my mom. My relationship with my friends was at stake. I almost had no time for myself. I was only able to get close to the cleaning lady of the company to whom I confided. She was worried and made me realize that this was not normal. Perhaps I was sick? She wondered. She asked me to go to the hospital and I didn't really deem it necessary. So I told my mother, who angrily threatened to fire her if ever I discussed with her again. One day, just like other working days with my mom, everything was moving as usual. But for one surprise, I woke up this time in Mrs. Roger's room, the cleaner. Madam, what am I doing here? Where is my mom? Even in my worst nightmares, I could have never imagined what this lady was telling me. She told me that she was worried because I had moved away from her, so she decided to follow me and find out what she did in the afternoon. Once there, she noticed that these discussions were going on and I would become more and more dizzy, so my mother would take me to a discreet room and the client would join me there. She alerted the police, who came later and took my mother and my client away. Then she brought me home with the help of our friends. In the moment, I was filled with so many emotions: anger, disappointment, fear, and grief. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. Unfortunately, it was all true. My mother used me as a call girl, and I was even happy about it. What an idiot. It took me a long time to get over it, and I still felt dirty. So Mrs. Rogers suggested that I should follow her to a meeting, which I did. Once there, I realized that there were people of all ages. She told me that it was a meeting between brethren in Christ, and each other had an unbelievable story. One of them in particular caught my attention. I worked for a gang for a long time as a hitman. My job was to kill specific people. I don't even know the exact number of people I killed, but fortunately, I was able to leave that group alive. Today I am serving my sentence, but I'm happy, not because I'll get out soon. No, I'm in for many years. Thanks to my lawyer, I was granted the permission to get these educative outings with the aim of teaching others, of course, under supervision. I am happy because I have been forgiven and I have been washed and I have been delivered. Yes, I met Christ and everything changed. I went to the police. After hearing what she said, I felt like I was watching a movie. I realized that these people had gone through so much worse than what I was going through, and they were all filled with love. I also wanted the taste of this happiness, at least for once in my life. That's how they invited me to share the word with them. Each word was like an antidote to my wounds, so I decided to accept Christ. The hardest part of my conversion was facing my mother. However, I could count on Mrs. Rogers' support. I paid her a visit in prison. I forgave her and urged her to know Christ. Up till date, my mom has still not accepted Christ, but I didn't give up. I keep visiting her and praying for her. I'm sure that she will soon do it because Christ is the only one who can change her heart. The emptiness in me has been filled, and I pray that you who are in the same situation should discover this treasure.